Good morning for another Make Your Morning session. Really good to be with you today. I'm just going to give it a moment or so to allow people to jump on, and then we'll get started and talk about today's topic, which is active listening. And really, for me, it's about the gift of listening overall. So often, we're so busy jumping from task to task and checking emails and checking text messages, and we're not necessarily giving the person that's in front of us our attention because we're watching TV, we're picking up our phone, and all these different distractions that are going on. And it's the same in your work life as well. So now for a lot of people, you will be working online and working virtually. And so when you're in a meeting, rather than being face to face with someone as often we would have been before, we've got all the distractions that are going on our laptop because we are looking into a screen or a camera for a lot of the time as well. And it means that, it can sometimes feel more intense to be, so actively listening on screen, but it's even more important than it would be in that kind of face-to-face meeting as well, to bring in that presence. So we're going to do a few different things today that are going to get us thinking about listening overall and how important it is. But it's not only listening to other people that's important. Absolutely, that's going to be a primary focus for us today. But it's also listening to ourselves as well. Listening to that kind of gut feel that we sometimes get too is really important. Listening to what thoughts are coming through, what feelings are coming through for us as well, what's been triggered for us too. What questions have we got that we need to answer? All of that side of things is really, really important overall in listening too. So I want us to think about, first of all, listening when it comes to actively listening to someone else. So what does listen truly mean? We hear, there's a difference between hearing, and just hearing a sound or hearing something being said versus truly and actively listening. And, they say that you've got kind of 2 ears and one mouth for a reason. We've got two entrances to allow us to take in sound, to allow us to really listen to other people. And a huge part for me about listening is overall your body language. So, eye contact if you're face to face with someone, and that doesn't mean intently kind of staring someone out, but that gentle eye contact, it shows someone that you are paying attention to what they're saying. Also, you'll notice through my communication, there's a lot of kind of nodding, eye contact, smiling as well. Obviously, it depends on the subject. If it's a really quite tragic subject, you don't want to be sitting like all the time. But it's funny how a smile opens up, I guess, a bit of ease in conversation as well. And people often will feel more comfortable to share something if they feel that you're more open and listening. And so there's the body language bit, there's the keeping it open, there's how are we sitting. And, obviously we need to keep our distance at the moment, but when we're sitting in a meeting, for example, with someone, if we're sitting face on, sometimes it can feel like it's quite adversarial, whereas if we're sitting side on, that can often be less intimidating as well. So little things like this and active listening are really, really important too. Also, I would say in active listening, it depends on your personality and your preferences, but so often when people are hearing what someone's saying rather than listening, they're hearing it and they're thinking, right, what am I going to say next? Or what could I ask? Or, oh, what could I input here? Or, oh yeah, that sounds like something that I've been thinking about and want to kind of jump in with enthusiasm. Often when you've got a lot of extroversion, you're dying to actually say what you're thinking, and speak, because you are, or your style is really driven by speaking to think. Whereas somebody that's more introverted naturally tends to have more of a listening preference because you think to speak. So and it doesn't necessarily mean that you are a better listener. It just means that your preference is to to give yourself more time before you would articulate something, and therefore the other person that is speaking to you and that you're listening to probably feels like they've got more space to say what they want to say, because you're not going to just jump in and interrupt as well. So a huge part of listening is zipping up the mouth. Sometimes it can feel like we're biting our tongue, sitting on our hands, but it's really interesting when you make a choice to actively listen rather than having a solution, or rather than reacting to everything that an individual says. Now, that's not to say that you sit silently for 25 minutes, not at all, because actually sometimes a great way of showing someone that you're listening can be paraphrasing something that they've just said. So if somebody, is telling you about a situation at work with their manager, and they're feeling that their manager's been quite aggressive or quite impatient in their style, for you to paraphrase it and say, what I'm hearing is that it's sounding really quite difficult with your manager at the moment. Some of the behaviours they're displaying seem to be, from your perspective, quite aggressive, quite overbearing, and it can be a really good way of kind of holding up the mirror to someone and helping them to, okay, well, maybe I didn't mean aggressive, probably what I meant was do, and it just helps that person clarify what it is they're wanting to talk about as well. So paraphrasing is really good. Also asking questions too. So just asking a nice open question. If somebody's telling you about a situation, something like, oh, how does it make you feel when you're in that situation? Or what would you like to be different? Or how would you like that other person to interact or show up? Open questions can be really, really great in helping someone to understand, again, that you're there for them, but also sometimes that, yourself, we can be getting into this spiral of negativity, and somebody else is a really good active listener can actually help to coach us a little bit in the conversation too. So asking really good questions. So body language, hugely important. Paraphrasing what somebody else has said to show them that you've really, really listened, you're really, really hearing what they're truly saying. Asking really good questions. Also, another thing is reading the other person's body language. So in our body language, we often leak our truth. So if somebody is unhappy about something, uncomfortable about something, it's usually leaked in some way. So it might be closed body language, it might be, just the expression on that person's face. And sometimes just checking in and asking that person, are you okay? You look quite uncomfortable with what I've just said. What are your thoughts on that? How are you feeling about what I've just said? Can be really, really good, rather than just going along in a meeting if you're online and just blissfully going along knowing that it looks like somebody's really uncomfortable, because then you're not going to get to the outcome that is good for either of you. So these are a few things when essentially listening to other people that can be really, really good. And I mentioned that listening to yourself is equally as important to be able to be a really, really good listener. So if you're going into a conversation and it feels like you've got a million things going through your head, it's very difficult to be actively listening, because you're thinking, oh, in that last meeting I said I'd do this, I must note that down. Or, oh, I wonder what's coming next. Actually, oh, I forgot to send that email about the meeting further on. Let me just send that email. So how often have we jumped on a call and somebody's like, oh, let me just finish this email. That would be like if we were in a meeting room, somebody just saying, okay, let me just finish this phone call before we start the meeting. Actually, when we're face to face, we tend to be more present in the room and put some of the distractions down. But when we're on the computer, then it's very easy to just allow ourselves to maybe fall into bad habits. So distractions are going on, which make it trickier. So for me, if I lose my train of thought when somebody is speaking, then I always just return to my breath, return to take a couple of deep breaths in. You can take nasal breaths in as well, so that you're not on the call maybe doing your kind of deep breathing and somebody's wondering what's going on, or that you're maybe frustrated about something or stressed out about something. But just return to also what that person is saying. So it's absolutely okay to get distracted. It happens to us all. Do a really good exercise in face-to-face with people and get them to clap every time they're distracted. And it's really, really fascinating to see, and just in a 1 minute kind of conversation, people are kind of clapping all the time because we're getting so distracted all of the time when we're listening. So bringing in some presence, focusing on what the person is saying, and sometimes just bringing yourself completely back into the room and thinking about, right, how do I want to show up for this person? Okay, I'm back in the room. Another way is to create more space throughout your day. So if you've got a little bit more space throughout your day in between meetings, it helps to bring presence. It helps to kind of bring, I guess, a stronger listening style as well. And I want us to do just a little exercise that I love to do that just kind of brings presence into my kind of listening, or hones your listening skills a little bit. So just begin by gently closing your eyes. And I just want you to begin to notice the sounds in the room that you're in. It may be machinery. It may be somebody else that's in the room with you. Maybe the sound of birds outside in the just outside your window. Maybe your stomach guzzling. Maybe internal noises for you in your body. But just take a few moments while you begin to settle in to just really notice what sounds you're hearing. And we're looking for sounds that are quite close by, so it shouldn't feel like you're straining at all to hear anything. Now what I'd like you to do is listen just that little bit harder now. Listen to what's going on outside of the room. Is it in somewhere else in your house, in your workplace? Is it outside? Notice the sounds for you. Again, just take some deep breaths here. Now I want you to take a moment and just notice your thoughts. So often we don't listen to what's going on. We get so busy doing things. Actually, just answer one question. What's most important for you today? Just continue to breathe. What's most important for you today? And just now bring your attention back to the sounds that you can hear either in the room, outside, or within your body. And just take a few deep breaths here as you notice these sounds. Truly listening brings us more into the present, more aware of ourselves, more aware for other people as well. One of the big things that people often say when frustrated or things aren't working is, I don't feel heard, nobody's listening to me. Actually, you can give the gift of truly listening to someone, whether it be someone close to you in your relationship, whether it be someone in your family, a friend, a colleague, somebody you don't even know, somebody who's serving you in a shop, whoever it may be, somebody that you're on the phone to, inquiring about something. Give them that gift of listening today. And I'm going to leave you, just as you continue to just kind of breathe there, I'm going to leave you with a quote to listen to. Miracles happen all the time. We're here, aren't we? Miracles happen all the time. We're here, aren't we? Just think about how that could help to inspire your day, and think about how you can bring those brilliant listening skills that you've got into action in your day. Thank you for joining me. To those of you that have joined me live, so appreciate you showing up each and every day for these Make Your Morning sessions. And feel free to share this with anyone you think it's relevant for. And welcome to anyone who's listening on the recording. Have an amazing day, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.